I had a realization a few years ago that I specifically want to talk about today. I don't think that ambitious women lose their creativity. What happens is when you're inside of these corporate constructs and these corporate systems, your creativity slowly gets redirected to performance, survival, and overwork. And before you click off this video, when I say the word creativity, I need you to hear me clearly because I'm talking to you. You're working, you're managing, you're problem solving, you're executing, you're constantly critically thinking, and you don't realize that you're being creative every single day, all day long. But you're losing access to the part of your creativity that actually restores you. You're losing access to your curiosity, to your play, to your wonder, to your personal expression, to creativity that is not tied to production, that is not tied to performance. And if you've been watching me over my 100-day journey, and if any of those videos resonated with you, this video is for you, and I'm talking directly to you. And that's specifically what I want to talk about in today's video. I want to talk about how living this way adds to our exhaustion, how I started recognizing it in myself, what I have personally done over the years to stay connected to my creativity in a way that's not performative or productivity based, and why I think ambitious women need more awareness, need more attention, and need more alignment when it comes to the way that you are using your creativity every single day or just at all. Before we get into it real good, today's tea of the day is a peppermint tea, real basic, but girl, I could drink peppermint tea all day long, every single day. It's just something about peppermint tea. So that's what I'm drinking today, this morning. And it's still very really hot before it gets cold. So let's talk about creativity in the way that you're using it every single day that you don't actually realize. And it is adding to the chronic exhaustion, adding to what you might be experiencing in survival mode. At least it was happening for me. And adding to the exhaustion that comes with your overwork. And again, if you've been watching me, if you watch me over my 100-day journey, you know that I was in healthcare corporate leadership, 6-figure job. I burnt out, girl. I was burnt to a crisp, the brain fog. I was overweight. I was on 2 types of anxiety medication. I was leading a large team, but ultimately I burnt out. And after I left that job, I gave myself the space to really heal, think through. I went on a nearly 1-year sabbatical, and I used that time to just rediscover myself, heal. It was the most transformational time of my life. And I'm having these conversations because I had so much reflection, realizations, all of the conversations I'm having now, all the work that I'm doing, the book that I wrote are all kind of focused on my realizations during my sabbatical and how I'm continued to grow, develop, and realize these things in actual real time. I realized during my sabbatical, when I actually gave myself some space, was that my creative brain was always on. Again, I was leading a very large team. I think I had at one point in time 60 direct reports. It was insane, just constantly managing, constantly leading, constantly strategizing. It was a lot to do. And the facility that I was managing was open 7 days a week. So Even on the weekends, I was not, physically at the office, but I still had to be available if the team needed something or something went wrong or whatever the case may be. And I just had to think about that. Like, think about how I was living my life during that nearly, because I was in that role for about 5 years, and I was in this state of like constant stress, constant overwork, constant, like, that's when the overweight came, the brain fog. And here's the thing too. Wait, I was in that period, girl, see, I get to talking. I was in that period of burnout for about 2 years. But what made it even more, I guess, daunting was that I led this team before COVID, during COVID, and out of COVID. And we all know how just stressful things were in life during that time, but even more particularly in healthcare. And I just had to realize that my exhaustion had well surpassed just physical exhaustion. And that's why I talk about rest so much, and rest beyond just physical rest. There are 7 different types of rest, and understanding what they are, how your body needs them, and tapping into those each types of rest based on what your needs are. But just had to realize my brain was in constant creative productivity execution mode. That was my life at a very high level for nearly 5 years straight, and even more hardcore for like a 2-year period. And during my sabbatical, when I started to pour more into myself creatively, that's when I had these realizations. Like, I had these realizations after the fact, and that's why I can talk about them so clearly now, because I had no idea about this when I was in it, but I'm having the conversations now, so hopefully they can help you and to help other women. And pouring back into myself creatively looked like I've always dabbled in painting, but this isn't about being an artist either. And I'm going to get more into that, either like how this isn't about like artistic creativity, but applied creativity, and how your applied creativity continues to add to your exhaustion and your overwork. But the ways, like, again, when you empty a cup, you're emptying your creative cup all day, every day. You need to be able to fill it back in with something. And for me, what that looked like during my sabbatical was painting, cross stitching, jewelry making, pottery, visual creating. I started blogging. Well, yeah, I kind of started blogging before I left the 6-figure role, but I continued. I was style blogging at the time, and that really poured into me in a positive way creatively until it turned into a job, girl. That's a story for another day. I was doing a lot of beach walks, just going out there sitting and just allowing my mind to think creatively outside of productivity. Some of this, I still do that now today. These small things just became a way of me pouring back into my creative cup, me personally, outside of just performing creativity. Now, you might be saying, Erica, what are you talking about? I'm not a creative. How am I being creative every day, all day in my corporate job? And that's adding to my exhaustion, because you're using applied creativity. And I know when people think about creativity, they automatically kind of think about artistic creativity, which is normal because that's what we see out in the world. Painters, artists, musicians, like all of the things that go into the arts. But applied creativity is simply using your imagination to solve a real life problem. And you're using that all day long in your corporate jobs. And I wrote down a bunch of examples that I'm going to give you how you're using your applied creativity all day long that adds to your exhaustion. Think about this. All the ways that you have softened emails over the years. You're writing out an email to a colleague, to a boss, to a client, to a customer, and you're having to rewrite, rethink, strategize on how you're going to soften or send this email. That's applied creativity. Anticipating people's needs or reactions, especially when you're in leadership positions. I was leading a team that was multi-generational. I was leading people who were old enough to be my parents, and I was leading people who were young enough to be my little siblings, and just understanding how to anticipate these people's needs on a multi-generational level and respond to their reactions. That's applied creativity. Leading conversations carefully. Again, even if you're not in leadership, how you have to lead conversations with the client, with customers, with your colleagues, with your boss, with your peers. All of that is applied creativity, the way that you strategically think through problems, through solutions, through the project. All of that is applied creativity. How you solve problems in real time. How many times do you have to solve problems on the spot? Not that you have time to really develop a full strategy, but no, you need to solve the problem right then and there, using your creativity to solve this real life problem. That is applied creativity. Reorganizing your priorities. Now, we have to do that so many times in the workplace, and just as women, how we have to reorganize things, how things have to shift, how things have to pivot. We thought this was the priority. Now this is the priority, how we're going to navigate that. All of that is applied creativity. How you present your ideas. We know in corporate America, when we present ideas, they could be the best ideas in the world. But if we aren't presenting them in a way where they can save the company money, bring in more money for the company, make some kind of improvement, show the ROI in some type of way. So presenting your ideas in that way, that is applied creativity. Masking your exhaustion professionally. We definitely have to get creative with that. How we have to cover up how we are exhausted inside of these systems and constructs in a professional way. So all those things that I just named, that is creative labor. That is you using your creativity in an applied way every single day, all day long. And girl, me just reading off that list, I'm tired. So with you doing that all day, every day, and doing those things, that is adding to the exhaustion. That is adding to the overwork, the performance, the productivity, us being in survival mode. And most women don't account for this type of creative labor. And again, why I wanted to have the conversation. But the shift is, like I said before, when you empty yourself or drain yourself so much out creatively, you have to be able to fill yourself back up. And again, this ain't about becoming an artist. I like to paint. That's just one of the ways I like to pour back into myself. But this is about reconnecting with yourself outside of the performance and being able to fill your cup back up creatively. We as women, we are overflowing with creativity. But again, when it gets drained or directed towards productivity, performance, overwork, and just pouring back in more to that survival mode, it takes away from us ways that we can be pouring back into ourselves creatively. And how you can do that is finding ways that allow you to be creative in a way that's not performance based. You're not trying to monetize it in any way, but really just pouring back into yourself creatively A lot of times it comes from thinking about things that you used to do as a little girl that you just really used to enjoy and tapping back into that, even if it was you on a Saturday morning in your coloring book and how that just used to bring you so much joy or peace or calm. It can be something as small as that. Just creating in any way that doesn't necessarily has to have this perfect outcome or an outcome at all. It can just be you for you, giving you something back. It can be you just allowing your curiosity to expand and to grow again. In creative experiences that you might want to explore, those things that you might have flagged or tagged on a Pinterest board or you saw in your city and you're like, that seems interesting. I want to try that cooking class that you might have wanted to try. Any type of experience, just expressing yourself in a way that's not tied to performance. And again, like I had a style blog for 4 years and it started out as me creating in a way that wasn't tied to performance, in a way that I really enjoy. I always got compliments on my clothing in general. In high school, girl, I was runner up. You know how senior year you have like the best of this, the best of that, da da da. I was runner up for best dress. So like style and fashion has always been a part of me, like expressing myself personally. But I started style blogging, and my focus for my style blog was helping career women explore their career, their workwear with bold colors, prints, patterns, because I felt like a lot of people really thought of workwear as like navy, gray, black, bright, beige, brown. And I will always get compliments in my corporate leadership career because, girl, I was always stepping in bold, bright colors in my workwear, and I will always get compliments. So that's what kind of birthed my style blog, and it was so much fun. I got to work with a lot of brands. I grew a platform on Instagram, but the moment it started to become, again, like performance based. And I mean performance based, like, okay, now I'm looking at follows. Now I'm looking at subscribers now because I'm working with brands. And that's when it kind of took the fun out of it. And that was kind of too when I was going through, it's like I created this as a part of my relief. But then when it turned into a pain in the butt in another job, I just kind of just let everything go. But I had a really good time. I had a lot of cool partnerships with brands. It was a really good time. But I say all that to say, it's just like finding something that you can create that's not monetizing, that's really pouring back into yourself and just allowing yourself to reconnect to self. Like now I'm in a period of exploring mocktails because I don't drink alcohol. And that's really been allowing me to explore my creativity in a way that's fun and explorative and curiosity based, even with my curiosities around exploring teas and different tea blends, like just being able to pour back into yourself creatively, because you're emptying so much of yourself creatively in your everyday corporate lives. And even if you're an entrepreneur, you still have to do that as a part of your work, as a part of your business, being creative in a way that's applied and that may drain you, and finding ways to pour back into yourself creatively. That's a type of rest. Creative rest is one of the 7 types of rest. And again, why I'm gonna keep talking about it, like my video titles may not ever have the word rest in it, because during my 100-day journey, I've did a lot of analysis and strategizing. Again, that's the strategist in me. And people just really don't resonate with that title, with rest in the title. And because I know there's a lot of resistance to that, but I'm going to always talk about rest because it was pivotal in my transformation, and not only physical rest, but all 7 types of rest. And creative rest is one of those 7 types of rest. And me just having this thought and this realization about creativity and how ambitious women lose their personal creativity to all of the ways that it is being directed into performance and overwork and survival. I've just been thinking about how I'm creating spaces with women. I mean, with women and for women, and how I can create a space where creative rest and creative wellness is prioritized for women, because no matter what industry you're in, you're using this. If you're in marketing, if you're in project management, if you're in healthcare, if you are a teacher, if you are in any industry, you are using, if you're a nonprofit, if you're in tech, you're using your applied creativity all day long, and it's adding to that exhaustion. It's adding to that overwork, and you have to be able to find ways to pour back into yourself creatively in a way that's just for you. So I'm thinking about how can I create spaces like this, like after the 100 days. I talked so much about corporate brain rot and not checking in with yourself. And I created the check-in live, a space off YouTube, a safe space where women can come. And I led it, and it was 4 of us. It was me and 3 other women showed up. Hey girls, if you're watching. And I led them through a guided reflection. It wasn't anything planned. I didn't really have any slides. It was just a space to just be, and the conversations that we had in that space, it was so good. And that was just like proof of concept that women not only want a space like that, but need a space like that. And with how I know creativity in a way that pours back into me has been a staple in how I'm redesigning my life, I'm just thinking about even more how I can create a space like that, a more reflective, creative space where it's, low pressure. Again, this isn't about being an artist, but creating without expectations, creating in a way that is restorative. So I'm really thinking about that. So if that's something that you're interested in, join my newsletter, the Easeful Ambition Collective. And as I continue to think this through, those people on my email list will be the first to know like what that space will look like. So I've dropped the link to the Easeful Ambition Collective down in my description box. But yeah, this is the conversation that I wanted to have today, because I didn't realize this until after the fact, how much we use our creativity in these corporate constructs and these systems, no matter what industry we may be in, and how it is adding to our overwork, to our survival, to that performing. And it's draining us deeply. And when you don't know that, it's hard for you to do anything about it. So it's one of my goals, as I've said before, to give language to women like you, to bring awareness to things like this, but then to also move beyond just the awareness, because we also can't get stuck in the awareness. We have to take action to move out of it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I think that I'm going to be creating some space around this in the future. Not sure what that will look like right here today as I have this conversation, but I'm definitely going to be creating something. So let me know down in the comments if you've ever realized how much creative energy your job or career actually takes from you. Let me know down in the comments. Drop any other comments you might have down in below. If any of this resonated with you, give this video a like, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.